Hello. This is whoa, noisy me. Okay, I got my microphone now. I was gonna call into question whether DDB Brazil should still be Agency of the Year after the little scandal that's rocked the advertising world, or the rest of the world rather, this week, which is that the WWF ad with the comparison between 9/11 and the tsunami. If it is as it has turned out now, that WWF did not approve this ad and DDB Brazil still created it and still ran it in order to enter it in awards, well then they're kind of cheating, aren't they? And since the Agency of the Year is based on the total scores that you receive in, not necessarily awards that you receive, but the total score of all the awards that you have in the press, radio, and film categories in Cannes, and they had the highest score, one wonders how many of those were approved by the actual clients. I'm also kind of wondering if WWF just kind of decided that, oh God, now there's a scandal, let's just run away from this ad. Because it just seems rather odd that an agency can spend that kind of money on an ad that the client never approved. But at the same time, we know that, you know, Amnesty and UNICEF and, well, I'm sure WWF as well, are the type of clients that actually never have to really pay anything for creative work. So I'm just wondering if they did it and then they showed it and then WWF said, not really our style, that's way too pieta for us. And then they ran it anyway. Because, you know, now you've spent all this money to do these things. So I guess they believed enough in the idea to think it would score them some awards. But it did get them a merit award at the one show, so it, you know, they were right in that matter. Personally, I'm not as offended by the ad as so many other people are, because I don't think that non-Americans see it the same way Americans do. But at the same time, I think there's a huge disconnect in the ad. I mean, I don't think the comparison really works. And for that reason alone, I think it should have been scrapped. Then you can argue whether it's totally tasteless to use the 9/11 in an ad in any sort of way. And at the same time, you could argue if it's tasteless to use Hitler in ads. And you see Hitler in ads all the time, and I find that kind of tasteless, but it depends on the point they're making. There's an ad campaign out now from a German anti-AIDS company where there's a really steamy sex scene between a very, very bodacious woman and some sort of half-fat, chubby guy. And when you finally see his face, it's Hitler. And then it says, AIDS is a mass murderer. And that is kind of, that's stepping over it. I mean, I see what they're saying. Yeah, Hitler is a mass murderer, but, and so is AIDS. But ugh, that was really tacky. That was just nasty. I think there, and plus there's no call to action in it. It doesn't say use a condom or anything. So it's, you know, I know that's what they're getting to, but it doesn't actually say it. Hey, how do you like my T-shirt today? I don't know why I have to show off my T-shirts. My bad hair day. What else was I going to say? Well, no, that was the thing. I was just wondering what kind of, I mean, since, okay, this ad actually won a merit award in the one show, which means it didn't score high enough to actually win some kind of medal, but, you know, so fair enough. But it did make the award. It did manage to get through the award criteria, which is, you know, supply a tear sheet to prove that it's run somewhere. So they have run it somewhere. I'm wondering if this is, you know, the same thing happened a couple of years ago when the Amnesty ad that won a bronze in Cannes was, it turns out it had never run, and Amnesty, like, disavowed it and stuff. So I think that was a very similar situation because, first of all, on that ad it said amnesty.com and not amnesty.org. So you know that Amnesty never actually saw that ad because they would have pointed out the mistake immediately. And then, but it was well executed. It was nicely shot, and so at the same time, it's the usual. Agencies pay to create these ads for UNICEF, Amnesty, WWF, all kinds of sway, because. You know, the Red Cross and other type of organizations like this really shouldn't be spending money on advertising. And so agencies create this stuff on their own dime to win awards. And that's probably why it's happening in these categories. I mean, you've never really seen an ad from Microsoft suddenly be stripped of its award. I mean, an ad from Microsoft is actually double checked and triple checked, and it's not a coincidence that it's all happening to sway accounts. It really isn't. But it also makes you wonder, how can awards stop it from happening? Because if the only thing you have to do to prove that an ad ran is to supply a tear sheet, then you haven't really proven that the client signed off on it. And that's what they need to prove. I know that, the last time I entered an award, we had to put down the clients, and this was a long time ago. Maybe it was just yeah, it was a while ago, because I don't enter awards unless I think I have a shot, because I'm stingy. And I freelance, so often if I'm doing work to an agency, it's the agency's decision, and, then I can't really do it. I mean, I could, because it's my work and I enter it as a person instead of the agency representative, but it's just, if I'm not going to win, I'm not going to put my own personal money to it. But I remember one of those awards I entered, and it was on my personal, instead of it going on the agency, it was me personally entering it. I remember I had to actually put the phone number of the client down, which was fine by me because, I had his phone number and stuff. But I was just wondering if we still put the phone number of the clients down, why aren't they being phoned? I mean, the awards make quite a lot of money. And I know, like, for example, renting Cannes, the Palais, and arranging it costs a lot of money because there's a lot of people that work for Cannes, but some of this must be diverted away into checking the legitimacy of certain entries. I mean, I know that Lurzer's archive, for instance, they get like a lot of submissions, and some of them they simply just don't, I mean, they don't print everything that they get. Some stuff that I've sent to Lurzer's has won awards but never entered Lurzer's. So they might be pickier. I don't know why it never ended up there. Maybe they didn't like it. Maybe they just had an issue full. Maybe they just thought, well, this is a bit suspect. It doesn't seem like it's run in any major way. Because it was like, this was a really, really small local stuff. So it could have been seen as, oh, here's yet another award-winning thing for some barber shop in Bronx. It was kind of like that because it was extremely low budget. So I can understand if they found it a bit suspect, but it did run, so, and it did win an award. So it's actually tougher to get into Lurzer's archive than it is to win an Epica, which I find rather funny. I don't know what my point was going to be here. I had a point when I started, but unfortunately there's a little girl at home who's playing hooky from school today, and just the sound of her voice downstairs is distracting the heck out of me today. Knowing that she still hasn't gotten out of her jammies. Can you hear her? Oh well. No, but my point was that we pay a lot of money for these awards. And, it ticked me off so much too that I was reading in some of the newspapers, they were like, bloggers and Twitterers, they just jumped the gun and, they spread around this ad that was not supported by the WWF. Now, this happens a lot when, like, a South American ad causes a stir in the States or something. Then, the big company in the States, the headquarters, says, we never approved that. But they don't really know if the company in South America approved it. It's not like the headquarters in the United States knows what goes on everywhere at all times, even if they may believe that they do. They don't. And I've seen stuff that's been approved over here in Sweden that would cause offense to Americans, but, it's not like, the 9/11 kind of stuff, but it's just, it kind of bothers me that as soon as something like this comes out, then they go to the headquarters in the United States, as if they're the all-seeing beings. There are, local offices. If this is in a South American ad, you talk to the South American office and you get the South American WWF to say, no, we never approved it. But they always go straight to the US. It's like, they have nothing to do with it. I mean, it's the same brand and all, but they're not the office that would have not approved it. So that kind of bothers me, but also just the newspaper reporting's saying that bloggers and Twitterers jumped the gun. there's no jumping the gun when this campaign actually got a merit award. I mean, how verified can you get? It's won an award. That's basically, this is an official ad. You know, then it's passed through the hoops of winning an award. So it's legit. You know, it's quite different if it shows up on like some blog spot place and. I mean, you have to compare also like which advertising blogs were reporting it. I mean, it was on Ad Freak. I mean, they're not clueless. They're connected to Ad Age or Ad Week. Sorry, did I get you guys confused? But so they're not, you know. And so there was a press release sent to or a press kit sent from DDB Brazil to Creativity Magazine and to Ad Age and to Ad Week. So it's not like this just suddenly randomly appeared on some hobbyist's blog somewhere. You have to differentiate between the different blogs as well. I mean, some of them are the Huffington Post, which can, you know, publish shit they've never double checked. Sorry. And some of them are, you know, actually blogs that get press releases straight from agencies. I'm gonna stop now because the kid downstairs is distracting me and I have to go and make her pancakes.